A couple of weeks ago, I discussed Flair Airlines within the aviation industry and definitely had a few requests from all of you to cover them again following new developments, which are actually on the brighter side than when I last discussed what was ongoing at the carrier. Following announcements and criticisms, Flair has definitely been up against it. To recap, following many announcements and also widely criticism, Flair had definitely been up against it, with many noting that the airline was not Canadian enough. This came thanks to the airline's aggressive expansion. Now, while Flair has been a name within our industry since the early 2000s, them actually offering scheduled services as to what they do now is only a new thing. So with that being said, and its rate of expansion, there was a lot of criticism that came with regards to the airline complying with rules surrounding foreign ownership, and how there was the potential that the foreign ownership, by that of 777 Partners, a very important name within the aviation world, was becoming too strict on the day-to-day operations and the future at Flair, and generally speaking, influencing key decisions, meaning that they were not Canadian enough. So where did this all take a downward turn? That's probably something you are indeed wondering. Well, that occurred when an investigation was launched. The initial findings from this investigation did indicate to us that Flair's relationship with 777 Partners saw the latter be too involved in the controlling of Flair, and like I mentioned, influencing the brand's decisions far too excessively to what it is allowed for a Canadian airline by law. What are the repercussions of these findings? Well, the risk is that the airline could lose its operating certificate, which means it would effectively be no longer able to fly within the aviation industry, generally speaking Canada, and therefore end. Flair was given, following the findings from this, a period to prove to regulators and more that they were essentially speaking Canadian. The exciting and big news emerging in recent days is Flair was actually able to prove that while they have a relationship with 777 Partners, this is a company that does not have as big of a hold over Flair as was initially expected and also found. In addition, Flair proved that they could earn money through their operations and profit from this, rather than, say, in the future, relying solely on funding from the 777 Partners to keep them afloat, which was one of the valid concerns. What does this mean overall? Well, it means Flair has proved that they are Canadian. Flair also made it very important to note with this announcement that they always believed they were Canadian, and it's a fair play to them on that front. Coming up against regulators and more, posing questions surrounding identity is one that genuinely puts a business at risk, and is by no stretch of the imagination a welcoming sight to see them push through this. Of course, while harsh on the regulators' front, it needs to be done, it's law. But coming out and proving all the doubters wrong, especially in an aviation sense, is another thing. It cements Flair's position within the aviation industry for now. Their objective moving forward will be to, of course, continue expanding and be profitable in the long term, while in addition fight off competition and much more from exterior carriers in Canada, as the market, you've probably noticed, becomes increasingly congested with more airlines joining the fray, more expansions being announced, and not all that market simply sticking with your WestJet and Air Canada. If you have any thoughts on the situation at Flair, you can let me know. Looking forward, it's going to be a pleasure to cover their expansion and growth, and long may it continue. Like I'll always say, any competition within the aviation industry is good competition, as it will usually see flight prices lowered. And of course, if the airline in question is a low-cost carrier, well, the benefits for customers is you'll have cheaper fares if you would like to travel around the country. Thank you very much for indeed taking the time to watch this video. Again, some more positive news coming out from the Canadian aviation sector. There can be absolutely no complaints there.